What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Unreal Engine 5 game development live stream where we're back in our Deck Knight project, a game built from scratch using Unreal Engine 5, C++ blueprints, the gameplay ability system plugin, and all of that good stuff. So today we're going to continue where we left off last time, which was we were working on our special hold melee attack, which is kind of a charge and like a kind of a thrust forward, right? And the issue that we're running into right now is that our melee traces are really attached to the sword. So you'll get some weird windows, whereas I would want the support for the melee trace subsystem to be able to just draw around the body of the character rather than the weapon. So we'll need to provide support in both regards. So I think we need to introduce most likely an enumerator, I guess, would be clearer, but it could also be a boolean most likely. But that way we'll be able to say, hey, draw this around the main character, draw this around a weapon, and then we would be able to query the subsystem to tell it which kind of mesh to kind of query for. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're gonna go into our melee trace subsystem. I don't know where the enumerator should live, honestly. Do we have already enumerators within here? We have a struct. We have a couple structs in enum here, so maybe within here as well would make sense. So let's grab that. Copy paste. We'll do EGAC melee trace. I don't know what I should call it though. It's like I guess trace object character mesh or weapon. That should be enough. I don't like this. Trace shape and then trace object. Maybe that's okay. And then there's trace data here. I'll probably need to do that here as well, right? So U property, probably everything here. And we'll do weapon by default, just so we don't break anything. And that should be everything that we need right now. Things could be with bad pointers here, so I wonder if they need to be U properties or not. Like that. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. So now we have to kind of query that enum to get the positions. So I haven't looked at this code in a bit. So I have to look at it here. So initialize, deinitialize, should create subsystem, fine, begin play, draw melee trace, debug, that's fine. We can stop playing as well. More debugs. More debugs and debugs. So request shape sphere trace is probably where we want to start. So there's the get mesh component, right? probably here, right? So who are we passing in to this? The instigator. So that's good, right? So now I have to kind of do the switch cases here, I guess. Wonder if a switch it makes sense, or I mean, since it's only two options, maybe it's switch not necessary, but let's kind of assume it will be. I have to remember the syntax here, so switch on enum syntax. Because I think it's just like switch yeah, I also need the actual data. So I think that part I'm missing too. So let's look back up here. So I think I should just pass in the melee trace stuff, like that whole package, you know. So I will have to change this signature to take in. It's like maybe the whole thing is valid. Let's see. Yeah. So it is of type this, so can I pass this by a const? Is that valid? I don't know. So let's copy this signature down here. Let's update the up here. So I should just be able to pass in that. And now we gotta fix the actual function. Let's see how we have all the data here, but I should be able to now do a switch. So a switch, and then parentheses in trace data dot let me make sure. So yeah, this also doesn't include this. So I'm gonna have to maybe add this here. Yeah, it's trace shape data. Let's just copy this here too. Seems like there's some redundancies, but we'll see. I can make this a const pointer, so let's go for it. So switch case that's not it's syntax. So then here. Hoping we could do something like that. And then we'll do the second case. I think that's valid, or is it just break? Oh. I don't know what I pressed there. think that's valid. And then, yeah, I guess in else. I guess that could be the default. I hope that's good. We're gonna have to find out. So we're gonna do all this. So we gotta do what? So I think at the very beginning, or not even, so before the switch, I think I need to do that, bam. And then when it's the character mesh, I got to so that is a redundant else there, so I should be able to say something like that. So now I should be able to say something similar. So it seems like I'm already doing that here. So it's kind of curious that is this like not necessary? Let me copy this. Do this. So it seems like it's included in both. What the hell did I just do to make everything red? Okay, I missed a parentheses. Okay, so we are missing some stuff here, so. Oh. So. We don't need that. We need that. Alright, so that is our close. We got this, and then we need that. Well, I'm hoping that doesn't cause any regressions. Let's see what happens. Hope that compiles. But yeah, it's weird that we had the fallback of the skeletal mesh kind of built in if it couldn't find the sockets. So maybe the fact that I was using none and maybe socket was true. I'm not sure. Okay, so default undeclared identifier. Okay, so is it just default, I think? Then it says parameter rotates copy for each invocation because they're passed by const reference. Probably should do that. So let's cancel that build. I'm assuming, yeah, it's all good, but yeah, let's cancel it. Let's go like this. Do const reference like that. Now let's see what repercussions that has. Oh my god. Okay. Good. So good. What other warnings is it giving me here? Number could be made static, whatever. They're gonna say that about a lot of these things, make it static or static. Number could be made const, like the whole thing. Alright, enough fucking around. Let's recompile that and we'll see if we get the results that we're hoping for. Well, let's see. Yeah, because the next things I need to do, assuming this works, of course. I do wonder if for this, also for this special attack, if this maybe was even necessary. And I wonder if I can even, maybe I could provide like an offset too. I don't know. Let's take it one thing at a time, you know? Knuckles. You. So, let's see. Alright, so far, no regression. All seems good. Boom, 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 boom. Now, let's look at our melee. So let's go to the chooser table, find the montage. Here is our melee track. So we're in melee player special. Melee player special has this. So trace object, we're gonna say character mesh. And then we're just gonna say none, I guess. I'm just hoping this draws around the player character now. So let's see. So it doesn't. If I make this root. Does that work? Okay. It does. So I'm gonna go wham, but yeah, you see the traces behind. So did that work when it wasn't root? And maybe I just wasn't looking. No. So it doesn't even draw there. So we probably want to put like a fail-safe in. For when it's none. I wonder if I could do that. Maybe I could do it here. So const f is our socket name. So we would say Maybe that's okay. Let's copy that. Hopefully that's a good enough failsafe here. What do I want to say? Add failsafe if. I wonder if I can also initialize these to it. I'm already doing that, but maybe I could just do something like that. Well, let's see if that fixed it at all. Or did I maybe break everything? Anything's possible. Oh. Today was a long day. Let's see. Let's look at our data. Special none. Let's just see if that works. No, that doesn't look like it did anything. Oh, melee data. So this root. Okay, now it's not working at all. Am I crazy? Oh, none of these. Do I need to draw my shapes? Alright, hold on. So, yeah. Yeah, that still works. Okay, great. That would be nice to make, I don't know, might not be worth it in the end, but maybe there could be like an offset, like a vector offset. But let's just make this 200 just to see. Yeah. Okay. Much looks like what we want. So we go like bam, bam. So let's spawn a dude just to be sure. So we're gonna go like bam, bam, bam. Seems good. What I do want to do as well, and I believe it's already a thing, is I want to toggle collision. go ahead and notify state. Why is something like this? So like that. So from like here to here is fine. Okay. I want to draw this all the way. Now there should be a collision tag that I made, ignore pawn. So this will toggle collision for this actor. So that we don't get those weird bumping into kind of situations. Should just kind of pass through. Yeah, like that. Which I think looks cooler. So it's a you know. I also have to start thinking about camera again. And I think maybe the camera should be out here so that you get those moments where you can kind of just see what you're doing and be like, psh. And then, yeah, we're going to have to work on transitioning out from this. I should also move this, right? We got decent movement, so we go like, yep. I also kind of want to, I do want to draw the target shape. So you'll know kind of where you're going to go and where you're going to damage and stuff. And it should probably rotate to like a detarget, probably. Let's not draw shapes anymore. We gotta fix that rotation. Yeah, we also need to fix this buffering input bug, causing a lot of problems. We'll have to see. But I'm glad we're able to update our traces to support what we want. So let's make a to-do list. We have, let's click. Should really not that one. This one. Like I have a tasks list, like a bug list somewhere. That's for streams, right? And this is definitely out of date. Whoopsie. That's the game cleanup camera settings. Yeah, all valid stuff. Great base NPC ability class projectile spawning. I think I might have already done that. But let's do this special melee attack. So subtask, so fix bug with input buffer, no, with hashed input vector correction and consistency. Then there's going to be add subtle hammer shake charge. Force feedback. Release. Probably do. Yeah, I also visualize. So visualize motion path. Maybe with target data. VFX plus SFX pass. I think that's a decent path forward. And then I gotta figure out what the kind of core loop is with the melee attacks, right? I have a few ideas. Hey, how you doing, Casper? Thanks for popping in. Documentation day? No. Well, kind of. I'm just tracking the tasks that I want to do for the special melee attack. We were able to update our collision trace stuff to make sure we can support the shape around the player rather than the shape of the sword for this special attack. So that when we use it, it'll trace around the player. And we also have added disabling collision with pawns during the attack. So we'll just get these cases where we can kind of just pass through like that. And those traces are melee traces. And we can kind of slice through. Bam. And it looks cool. Let's see. A lot of traces. And that reminds me, I need to also... another task in here. End is satisfying. We're gonna have to add stuff to make it even more satisfying. I'm trying. I just had a thought in my head, and I forgot what that thought was. Oh yeah. Fix. Transition back into melee combo. Fix. Movement. Add movement base blend out. But we can probably do what? So we can quickly add this movement based blend out. So add a state, it's called blend out, I think. Yeah. Blend out. So we do that. I think somewhere around there is perfectly fine. And now we should be able to, with the stick, blend out and move again earlier. And then we gotta add our input buffer track. So from here all the way to maybe like maybe there, and we'll say buffer at the last 90%. I'll have to figure out how to make this buffer a little bit more flexible later, but it's whatever. And then now we can go into our state tree. And have to add an explicit transition back into, we can go straight into probably back to melee combo 1. On the event. Yeah, sorry, my stream thing is kind of hiding at what I'm doing in the state tree. But that should give us a little bit more nice looking transitions now. So I go like that, and then I buffer right into the attack, right? So we might want to have a longer, because it's, you know, we want it to be an ender. We want to kind of leave it a little bit open after you do it. So maybe it can be a little bit out like that. And this could probably have a quicker blend in time. Blend out should be fine. So we go like that, and then I'm spamming, and you know, it takes a little bit of time, something like that. and then bam, 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 bam. Okay, so that already knocks out some of these guys, so bam. And bam. Now, that's what I just did, right? Undo that one. We didn't do the VFX SFX pass. So I want to fix this bug now with this cached input vector. So again, what this cached input vector is meant to kind of be doing is if I were to like dodge to the left and during that buffer time also buffer an attack to the left, but by the time the attack comes out, my stick is neutral or something other, like, and my stick is neutral, I want to go in that direction. So if I dodge and then do that, oh, let me see. It's hard to see, but that's the plan, right? So what you'll see is at the top, like, I'll get 0 for my vector, but then sometimes I'll get like a random like vector. It's hard to read, and it seems like it's a consistent vector in that case. So I need to dive into code for sure, but I need to look at the, that's an old state tree. Let's take that out. Go into my melee base. Signal comment, no. So in code, we do store the cached input vector. So let's go into gameplay ability system, gameplay abilities. I don't think I need this ability params object either. Now that I'm looking at it. Another problem for another day. I think it's in the native gameplay ability. Let's look. No. Input. Get input direction. Yeah, cached input direction. And then we call get input direction. And this is here, right? I guess I could look into my output log because I do have a bunch of logging here. Let's see. So buffered movement input. Let's change it. So I want to see how fast I can reproduce this. It's like if I don't press this stick at all, I don't think it ever comes out, right? Then I move the left stick, stop moving, it eventually comes out, right? I'm gonna put breakpoint here. Just do bam and then bam, right? So what got me here? So if it's not an owning player, it's fine. I don't think we need to be logging this, honestly. and it don't have a movement component. And we say it doesn't have an input buffer component. So we get the input buffer component, get movement axis value. So this get movement axis value is just returning something. So fix it's not returning the right value. So looks like I knew about this. I have a to do to fix it up. So we have other input buffer logs as well. So input buffer. Input buffer, buffer movement, input. So if in action and is input buffer open. We're doing that here. So what is movement input axis doing? So do I have two? So I have basically, it seems like, yeah, movement input axis. Axis value. Okay, so it's not the same variable name. We're just not making it 0 again. Well, I feel like somewhere in here, we're just not correctly nulling out the movement. So let's collapse a bunch of shit. So loading, open buffer input, sure. Now, do I need to maybe also make sure that the vector length is at a certain threshold as well before I buffer it? Maybe. The flush. Activate buffer thing. So add input action to buffer. At this moment, I'm telling it, hey, buffer now this. Maybe I can also add this thing. So buffered movement input axis. So it should be log fmt. don't remember this is the right syntax here. Don't think so. Clearly. Here. I don't remember the syntax. Let's see what it gives me. Buffering here. So we add it. Then we activate it, cache it. Do I have to say toString? What's this? It is a string, but it's a static string. Is that okay? Okay, it's the fact that it's wrapped in a text, maybe? Okay, so that's the syntax there, so that's good. We're listening, simulating, we're injecting, right? Get movement input access value. Can I also do that? I don't know if that's going to be valid or not. So let's compile that. Fingers crossed, gang. Hey, Vinigiero, thank you so much for popping in. No worries for being late. You never have to be late. It's just a chill time. But thanks for popping in. It's much appreciated. So we're making some progress on our special attack. We're fixing a bug with our cached input vector here. And then we have a nice cheeky little to-do list. So we're on that fix bug step. Then we're gonna kind of push through some of these. And we have another 45 minutes or so. I started the stream a little late today just because I was, I'm getting addicted to Mega Bonk, so I was playing hardcore. Yeah, so Wizard is never late. Nor is he early. Boom, boom, boom. Oh yeah, let's see. See what happens. And it still seems to fuck up. Because I do this, and then it goes. So there also needs to be maybe like a timeout or something. I need to work a tracing system this weekend. You got any advices? Yeah, well, not much of advice, but a good resource. Yeah. Check out that resource. It's very useful. But also in terms of design, I would say a lot of the common things that we're kind of like looking for and finding for, you know, being able to trace on either the character or the weapon itself, being able to use multiple trace shapes, making sure that the traces can be as independent to frame rate as possible. You know, trying to interpolate the frames in between so you don't have to be frame dependent. Making sure you can pass along data when on hit, making sure that data makes sense for your game. Possibly being able to combine shapes together into, you know, one kind of damage notify, allowing for designers to do offsets, rotational and position. And probably more, but that's the gist of it. Oh yeah, like anything, like the whole buffering system that we're using, and that you'll find is that as a reference, it's dependent on socket positions. You just probably have to update it so that you're checking for static meshes, or you're checking for maybe even skeletal meshes and things like that. Also the close input buffer. Maybe also on the close here, I should also flush this. Maybe I can make a function that says flush movement input axis. Maybe that's enough. Flush that. Do now on flush input buffer. Maybe you can do that here, but also, well, I guess on flush input buffer I can call flush, but maybe it should be more bespoke, so I could do something like that. So do we like open and close trace window and notify begin end, or handle in tick? I guess tick might fail depending on frame rate. So within the notified, like the notify itself, I think only handles showing the traces in the editor preview. So if I type in melee as an example, and actually I didn't test this to confirm if it was working. That's not what I want to look for. This one. I believe the tick that's done in the melee trace notify here is handling just the debugging traces and shapes. So let me see. Do I not? I guess maybe it doesn't work in maybe for this debugging shape. I'll have to fix that though. But for example, and I'll also probably have to add a flag to make sure it doesn't always trace. But yeah, you know, showing these traces here. That's done on the tick of the notify, but I use a subsystem to handle it. I haven't really battle tested it against like NPCs using it. I'll have to check that soon, but that's currently how it works. So you got the notify state, and on notify begin, you know, we pass in, we query to the subsystem, hey, I want to start tracing, and then here, you know, we do all this stuff. And then on the tick, this is where we're doing all of the sampling and stuff like that. But again, this is for if we're in the editor. But within the melee trace subsystem itself, we are using tick as well. But we're also using interpolation. So even though we are running it on tick, like processing melee traces and things like that, that's where I use that reference from, that GitHub reference, to kind of get this correct, because we do trace sampling, we could do offsetting and all that stuff, and it's all kind of written here. You can also look at my implementation. It's kind of a mix of what I tried to do and then trying to clean it up with that reference that I sent. So feel free. I'll send it here. Subsystem. Well, maybe you'll find use of it. But yeah, let's fix the fact that we don't see our traces when they're not drawn on the natural character, because that's pretty problematic as well. Let's go into code. So it is within the notify state. You should be able to also do, you know, async traces if you really wanted to. But here's our notify state. If does not have a debug mesh component, so I gotta remind myself, where am I doing that? So we're setting it here. So we're gonna need to do a similar thing here. I think there is also should fire an editor. Maybe I could just treat that as the flag. But yeah, I think we need to do a similar check that we did in our subsystem. So we're gonna grab this. Mesh component does socket exist. Let's go. Cool. Paste. Be careful. I'm sure I'm gonna fuck something up. So we're gonna say, so if row data socket that, and then end socket copy everything right here. there's that. Now I should be able to say row data. Trace object, right? And now doing that. And so now we're gonna do mesh comp, right? So so mesh comp, boom, 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 and then we're gonna do return. Well, we don't have to do it return. That's the first case, and the second case, you know, we might be able to do something like this as well. Mesh comp, and then that. Something like that might be valid. Let's pile, and let's see if that works. Fingers crossed, gang. Let's see if this does anything. Okay, compiled. Rock on, rock on. See. Gotta go, but we'll keep my fingers crossed for the rest of the evening. Much appreciated, man. Thanks for stopping by. As always. No, we're still not seeing the shape. We're gonna have to put a breakpoint, I guess. Let's just make sure we also didn't break other melee traces again. Yo, insane doggo. What's up? So we for sure broke things. So bam, 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 bam. So what did we... Right. So... I'm just going to put a breakpoint and just do that. So we do get that. So debug mesh component is a type component. So the start socket name seems like it's... No, it's getting there. Why is it giving me question marks though? Am I forgetting anything? So debug mesh component. Yeah, true. Yeah, it is development. So, I guess that's what it is. Maybe. Let me look. Let me only question one thing. Can I make this root? Does that fix it there? No. Okay. No. Do we still get the traces in game? Yeah, seems fine. Still not doing so good. Hey, Punch24. Thanks for the follow there on Kick. The targeting plugin has some nice execution order rules. It's very complex, but seems very bulletproof. Yeah, I mean, I'm not smart enough to really understand all of it, but I got it to work, and I need to add maybe better stuff to it, but now it is what it is. So, why is my shapes not drawing correctly? So let's go to, it's gonna be sphere, right? So get mesh component, let's see. Because what am I doing here, right? On notified tick, then I'm doing all of this nonsense, right? So current if g edit. So maybe this is not valid. No, it seems fine. So we're not even getting there. Do I need to do another compile or something? Let's hard to debug this way. So gotta find a way to debug frame dropping. Are you talking about like how to simulate frame dropping, or just how to like determine when it happens? What am I trying to catch? I'm trying to get this breakpoint to happen. And it's on notified tick of our melee trace sub notify state, which is this one right here. For some reason, it's just not going. Might need to recompile. But basically, I want to make sure that my traces are being drawn like they were earlier. If you want to simulate, I mean, the closest thing you can really do with simulating is there's this t.maxfps console command. Maybe you're familiar. Maybe you can run a script that kind of makes that fluctuate. So like if I were to do t.maxfps 10, now I have 10 FPS. And you can kind of just see the trace shapes are doing decently enough, It's not the best. But I'm sure you can do better than me there. So, and then when you want to bring it back to normal, you do t.maxfps 0, and it just kind of brings you back. So I'm hoping we don't ever get, because I think if we do like 30 FPS, it's still good. Like the second one is not that great, but you know, it is what it is. And maybe we need to maybe increase samples and stuff like that. I don't know if creating more trace samples will really do anything. Except, you know, mess with my frame rate. Good enough. Maybe I need to make it longer. Just to get more out of it, you know? Bam, bam, bam. Or maybe the trace state density could just be like 3 or something, and we'll leave it alone. But yeah, now I gotta go back to what the problem is. So I gotta just maybe do a recompile. I don't know why these breakpoints aren't hitting. Let's try again. Yeah, it could be better, but yeah. So I'm hoping I can fix this issue with the drawing in the montage editor. I don't know how that broke or why. So let's prepare to get a bunch of breakpoints, hopefully, as soon as I open up these montages. No. So it does get here. For a reason. Oh my god. Leave me alone. Oh my lord. Are corresponding tags defined? I'm not sure what you mean. I could just break after that as well. Maybe I can. Maybe that default is not necessary. I don't think it's a spam bot, no. Seems like some person. Okay, now we're getting here. Cool. So I guess that was the issue of how I was kind of just writing that switch. So yeah, now we're getting the drawings, right? Now does this apply here as well? Yes. So wham. Great. So all seems fine. So we got our shapes back. Magnificent. So what's on our to-do list? I think we have enough time to do one more thing. I guess also we were meant to check if we fix that input buffer. Issues now, spamming, bam, 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 bam. And it's all 0. Great. Happy with that. Bam, 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 wham. We'll also have to do probably maybe new dodges or rolls. I don't know. Do you think this guy would dodge, or do you think he would roll when he dodges instead? I don't want to do like a dodge, tap, and double tap roll. I want it to be like a singular action. I'm wondering what would look better. Like, I see this dodge itself doesn't look very good. I'm wondering if rolls would be better. We could just quickly look at the demo map. But we fixed that. So subtle camera shake during charge, visualized motion path, maybe with target data. Seems more of a dodge kind of guy. Because where are the dodges? Yeah. Oh. So that's what the dodges would look like. This is what the rolls would look like. Roll seems more interesting to me, at least with this movement set. I mean, we can try both and see what we like more. But then, yeah, next we're going to have to do blocking. Because then we'll have to also work on parrying as well. I think it's over here, right? I thought that was a parry. There's a parry counter attack, but maybe that's all I really need. Like, maybe there doesn't really need to be an explicit parry pose. I could just, you know, when you go into block, do a timer. See if you parried. So let's look at our block. Motion. That's the block locomotion, but there should also be. It's turning to block. Block, block. Block combat. Is there? Also, maybe we'd want to do like double jumps as well. That looks cool. Maybe then, yeah, we would also need to do dodge air. So maybe dodge air is like a dash, but when you're on the ground, it's like a roll. That could be cool. But yeah, I'm kind of missing the parry pose. Not parry pose, sorry, the block pose. Like you know, combat idle to block, you know. There's walk, block, root motion, but yeah, there should be like a block start, right? Yeah. But there's also parry. So there is a parry. Sorry, you're not seeing what I'm seeing. Doesn't feel like a parry. I mean, I guess it depends on what we want to define as a parry, right? That kind of feels like, that looks like a parry. So it's a bam. Yeah, this could work. And then there's a left, and then there's a right. So we could possibly introduce directionality. See, this looks more like a parry to me in general. So maybe we can work with just this one. You know, if you time a block correct, you know, you'll go into this. So it's like, and that, you know, that is a generous window, 0.42. So I don't know if we really say if it's the whole thing, you know. I think in general, it depends on the kind of game we want to make too, you know. We're not Sekiro. I wonder what behavior we should see if max FPS randomly changes during a montage. I mean, ideally for the traces and stuff, you wouldn't see a change in general. Like, you would still see the proper interpolation in between the points within the given frame time that happened. Obviously, like, if it's a huge drop in frames and it stays low, maybe there's a problem. At work, I've been, it's still ongoing, but you know, we have a melee trace subsystem there too, and they do it a lot better than the way I'm doing it. They have like interpolated samples, and it works no matter what you do for frame rate and stuff like that. Super cool. A lot of talented guys there. So what do we do? We looked at parry and we looked at block for no reason except to get distracted, right? But we know they exist, so yay for that. But what about our tasks, right? So force feedback during charge and release, add subtle camera shake during charge. I think I also want to add subtle UI shake during charge. What kind of game you trying to build, or just building systems? A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. So the kind of game I want to make, it's a blend of third-person action with ideally a deck builder. So as you're fighting enemies, you know, you'll have your melees, and you'll have your evasive actions, you'll have your defensive actions like parry and block and stuff like that, at least for this class. And as you're playing, you'll be able to execute cards like here. You know, you'll be able to play cards that say, hey, I can apply crit and apply burn when I critical hit. And then, you know, you'll be able to fight off waves of enemies more better. That's not right English, but more efficiently. And so you spend these card resource points that you'll see on the bottom left corner, these circles. So as you're performing better, against enemies. You're killing enemies. You're, gaining style points. Whatever, you get more of those points. Then you go back here. You activate more cards. You draw more cards from your deck. And then there's 2 layers of enemy AI where you have these NPCs like this dummy, but obviously there'll be enemies that do stuff and attack you, different archetypes and stuff. But then you'll have an overarching AI that's also playing cards, and those cards can buff his NPCs out here, debuff you. So there's different layers, so you'll have to activate different cards and kind of build your deck to kind of fight against those things. So there'll be a mix of buffing your character, granting your character abilities. So you can grant an ability card that basically says, on left trigger plus face button, you do some big attack, or you play a card that says, hey, now your charge attack applies burn for 30 seconds or something, things like that. And so it's kind of like Slay the Spire-esque, where in terms of like progression, I guess, you'll fight waves of enemies, and then you'll have to beat a few rounds, and once you beat that round, you'll be put up against a new higher level enemy that plays more cards, has more enemies, has more different archetypes, has other mechanics built in. And so you kind of progress that way until you die, and then you start over and you kind of respec your character. You earn ability points and maybe points to spend on new cards. You can reshuffle your deck. You can maybe do stuff like that. But that's the high level idea, I guess. We're at the very early stages where we're still kind of trying to figure out how the basic second to second needs to work for the melee and make it look good and feel good. So hopefully that's interesting. I also need to add force feedback on melee hits as well. Make that feel good. But yeah, this is what I'm talking about with the camera shake and UI shake I want to kind of introduce. So let's see if I can figure this out. So there should be what's the word? Main UI, I think I named it. Main game UI. Sounds pretty neat. I just got into game dev, so I'm learning quite a bit with it. That's awesome, man. What made you want to get into game dev? So yeah, here's our event UI shake. Playback speed. There, so let's look at our animation. Let's look at our shake. I kind of just want to preview what this looks like again. So maybe, I don't know how best to do this, because like obviously I can add these individual tags, like UI shake fast or slow, but maybe I should just kind of pass along like a playback speed. It's part of the payload. And that could be how I control the shake itself. So, melee base. Hey, Peter Punks. What's up, dude? What's up? All good. Too many crappy games out there. I thought I would give it a shot as a solo dev. Hey, more power to you, man. I respect that. So, if you're a beginner, definitely check out which game engines you are interested in. Obviously, if you want to make a smaller game, I don't really recommend Unreal Engine. In that case, I just use it because I use it for like a decade and stuff like that, but I'm also trying to learn Godot. So I recommend, depending on the scope of everything, maybe it'll be better for you to use Unity or Godot, and also just depends on the type of game you want to make. So feel free to ask questions, and we have a Discord, so if you want to join Discord, we have a few active members on there. We're trying to grow it over time, so everybody's welcome, of course. So we're gonna end in a couple minutes here. So let me see if I can just quickly get this shake going. So this was a value of 2, right? Oh, clean that up, make payload data. Let's disconnect everything else. So we can see it. Copy that. Search where else? So explosion. Be the same. Shake. And the last reference was in our melee hold, which again, I think it's on hit that we're doing that. Yeah. So what we could potentially do is maybe I'm also thinking about this all wrong because it does a ping pong num loops to play. Zero is looping, so maybe I can also pass in data about this. So maybe instigator tag can have something. Say I don't have anything to shake. So event.ui shake, maybe I can say spec.ui.shake.independent. Fact match, select num loops to play. So if it has it, it would be 0. If it doesn't, it'd be 1. So now in melee hold, we're gonna have a bug for sure. But let's say, for example, so as soon as we start, I want to make this maybe 0.5, and then let's pass in our instigator tags here. Infinite. So now we should be able to tell it to go indefinitely. So we should see something. But you see like the thing shaking. But maybe it's too much. So maybe 0.1. Because I'm hoping I can get away with the generic shake. As you're charging. I don't know if that looks good. Oh yeah, blueprints is a very good way to learn. So yeah, you know, take my advice with a grain of salt. Learn what you want to learn. Maybe during the shake, I actually want it to be even more aggressive. Maybe 4. It's probably gonna be way too much, but you know, fuck it. Maybe 2 is good too. Maybe we don't even want that, you know what I mean? But we also need to make sure we call to stop it, so we probably would need to make this start. And then we're gonna have to add one called end. There is animation playing. If so, stop. But then we should be able to say in our hold, change that to start. Let's call, damn it. And should be able to call that on release here. Just open the writer again. Go away. Oh no, I closed out everything. No. Maybe that's the universe's sign of telling me to stop. So I guess that's where we'll end it. So thanks for watching, everybody. It's much appreciated. Thanks for those watching from YouTube. Make sure to subscribe if you aren't already subscribed already. For those on Twitch, make sure to follow. As one more reminder, definitely check out our Discord, check out YouTube, and all of that good stuff. We don't have many people watching, so we won't really raid. So have a good rest of your week. We'll try to stream again on Thursday. Definitely not this weekend. It's going to be pretty jam-packed with our activities. So if I don't see you, have a good one. Take care of yourselves and see you soon.